Hey, you're listening to Fat and Greasy Citizens, a podcast about Shakespeare. I'm Fat.
And I'm Greasy. Every week we do a deep dive into every act of every Shakespeare play ever written, mostly while drinking.
More specifically, I'm Chuck. I'm a former English major and now a digital editor who cares a lot about Shakespeare.
And I'm Gabe. Let's do it!
Huzzah, huzzah, my knuckleheads, it is us, the first Queen Lizzie. If there was a problem, we'll solve it. Check out the hook while we welcome you to Fat and Greasy Citizens. In this episode, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Act II, in which we enter the fairy kingdom of King Oberon and his wife Titania, who are jealously arguing over a little Indian boy whom each of them wants. Folks, you can write books upon books about that plot point alone. But Titania won't give the boy up, so Oberon plans to seek his revenge on her by sending his fairy attendant Puck to retrieve a magic flower that will make her fall in love with the first creature she sees. However, Oberon also thinks he can fix the relationship between Demetrius and Helena with the flower juice as well. Needless to say, everyone falls asleep. Oberon doses his wife, and Puck doses Lysander, thinking he's the young man Demetrius Oberon wanted to fix. Lysander wakes up and falls in love with Helena, who immediately thinks he's making fun of her. It's hilarious! Oh, there's plenty of talk of Cupid's shaft and getting beaten like a dog, which really floats my Spanish Armada. Enjoy.
All right, recording in 3 different places, which is good.
Oh, I saw that porno. That was that was a dark time in my life.
Midsummer's Night's Dream.
I guarantee.
Oh, that exists. That exists on multiple formats. That exists late night on Showtime. That exists in a DVD.
Sure.
That exists.
That was a Skinamax special right there. It's got Skinamax.
It's an episode of Red Shoe where someone was just like, "No, I'm going classy with this one. This is when I break through." Okay.
That's the weirdest thing about the internet is like when you think like I wonder if this exists, and there has never been a search I've ever done.
Right, like when you try and do a stupid pun and you're just like, I wonder if I'm the first one to do this pun, and you just like, oh, yep, no. Every 6 years, someone comes up with a variation.
Yeah, you look at the date stamp too, 2011.
You know? What was this fucking guy thinking of? All right. All right, we get to Act 2. We've got some fairy people, got some Oberon, got some. How do you pronounce? Is it Titania?
I've heard both Titania and Titania.
Okay.
And in fact, now look, I don't want to pretend to be an authority on this, but I did do this show in high school. And
all right.
We said Titania, yeah.
Well, that's canon as far as I'm fucking concerned.
I played Oberon, by the way.
Nice, I can see that.
Yeah, I was Oberon, and there's a lot of stuff. It's funny because obviously all the Oberon lines are kind of etched into my head. Although the version we did was like Shakespeare light, a lot of Shakespeare was used. But there were some weird edits, which I'll talk about a little later on, like some weird like additions and subtractions. But like you question like why did they do that? It doesn't make any sense. But I'm
fine with weird.
It surprised me. Like there was a lot of stuff that I didn't really think about at the time, because obviously as an older gentleman, you don't like. It's been a long time since I said Oberon's words. And then when I started reading it, I'm like, he wanted this Indian boy. He's pissed off because his wife's
so I'm experiencing this one act at a time. Is this going to come back again, or are they just going to like mention this Indian boy?
I don't think it does.
And for no necessary reason, just like keep referring to him in that way. Like he could just be the child, but instead it's just like where's the Indian boy? Well, I have the Indian boy. Well, I want the Indian boy. It's just like, guys,
really
just cut it. You could just. How about an adjective? Not what about the Indian boy?
It really doesn't. If memory serves, the Indian boy is just the reason for why they're fighting now.
Yeah. It's
and that doesn't. I don't think it's ever resolved where it's like, well, you can keep the Indian boy. Like it's. I don't think it comes up again in any meaningful way. Like maybe it does. I don't recall.
I was struggling to say before. I generally approve of like little nips and tucks to the play wherever necessary, and even additions where it helps. And yeah, I don't think anyone this century or in any century hereafter should use the modifier Indian, nor does it add anything. Just like say, you got the boy. I want the boy. But it's
that's like I can't remember what comedian did it, but he's it was John Mulaney. He says something like how in middle school kids called him a Chinaman.
Yeah.
And it's like, and he said how lazy that is as like a racial epithet. Like
he's a man from China.
It really is just shoving two things together.
Also, as with like every time Shakespeare tries to write about the world outside the like 1 mile around Globe Theater, I'm just like, what do these fucking yokels think an Indian, like the Indian Sea looks like? Like, what yokel stereotypes is he playing to here? Because I think there's something they're hearing here that I'm not, and I'm just like, what do you unread bumpkins think this shit means? Like, are you picturing Aladdin here? Are you picturing I don't know, but just like
I'm glad you said that, because I as I was reading, I was like this is a crazy. And it's actually what I love about it too. It's like it's a crazy mishmash of like mythologies, but not only mythologies, but it's also like the poor understanding of other places as well. You know, like it's like he's got the Amazons, and he's got like far off India, and he's got Greek mythology, and he's got all these things just like coming together. And like the more I thought about it, is like, yeah, it really is like it probably comes from a place of ignorance, right? It has to.
Ignorance.
It's such a weird mangling of all of it, you know.
So whenever it's something that's like it clangs as poorly as the Indian boy, I go with ignorance, and then at other times I feel like maybe it's just like Stan Lee's understanding of Norse mythology and making Thor. He's just like, I don't know. Listen, he's got a hammer, right? That's enough. I'll go with that. But there's so much you could learn, Stan. Yeah, there is, but I'm not going to. I'm just a guy trying to put on a show. So
they did that with. Don't they have Hercules too? Isn't that one of the characters? Yeah, it's Hercules is there too, and it's like and I know that there's a backstory and all that stuff, but it's like I was just reading. I've been rereading the Civil War storyline of Marvel. And Hercules will be there, and it's like, is he a god? Like, I just don't understand. Like, are there gods in this universe? Because Thor is kind of a god, but they like explain it in a way that
they are, but they're like little gods. Is in Civil War, is Hercules wearing his green skirt, or has he been upgraded?
No,
to some other
I think he's with Cap, so he's like he's on the run, like so he looks like a stockbroker. Like he's like in a shirt and pants. Like he's not, you know.
Oh, that's no good. Hercules needs to be in a green skirt in the Marvel universe, and I'll stand by that. God damn it!
But that's an excellent point, though. Is that, you know, that mishmash of mythology happens in comic books all the time, and we don't necessarily question it as much as like say Shakespeare. But it really I can't tell. I think in comic books. I can't believe I'm like defending comic books over Shakespeare, but in comic books, I feel like there's a loving deference to it, you know. Whereas in Shakespeare, I just feel like it's like, well, you know, whatever. It's like, well, we'll take some Amazons, we'll take more Greek stuff. There's a lot of talk of Cupid's shaft.
There's a good deal of Cupid's shaft
in this particular scene.
I feel like they're both probably about on the same level, but both of them are just like, I feel like they're both just desperate for intellectual property, and so it's just like, oh yeah, I can write as much as I want about Theseus. Then I have to come up with another character. Like I could have come up with the name of this town. Like I did with Two Gentlemen from Verona, but that was actually exhausting. So I'm just going to say this is outside Athens, and Theseus is in charge. And
that would be awesome to think of Shakespeare as an artist who was working only on public domain.
Right. He's just listen,
he was trying to just deal with like whatever was like already out there. I'm gonna write that down.
He's just at the bar with other writers, and he's just like, "You're still creating original characters, you dummy. Does that get one more butt in the seats? Like, stop trying. It's stupid. Like, maybe someday I'll come up with an original character, but until then, I tell them that they're a Roman emperor, or I tell them they're a Greek god. These people can't read, okay? It's just an excuse to get to a Shaft joke, okay? So stop. You're working too hard. You're working too hard is what I'm telling you.
Let me tell you how it is. But it's like, there was a historian that Shakespeare ripped a lot of the histories off of.
I don't know. Oh yeah,
Plutarch.
I see him pop up a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So like Shakespeare definitely didn't do this shit in a vacuum. You know, like a lot of his histories were based on histories that Plutarch already had out there. You know, like it's no great shock to me that this is such a mishmash of all this. It's funny because like last time we talked so much about how this is way better. I don't want to shit on this play because I love this play, but it really is kind of a confusing olio of shit. You know, like it's he's definitely as good of a writer as he's becoming here. He's definitely like pulling from everywhere. You know. Well,
one of the things that jumps out at me is that this whole thing so far is in verse and in rhyming verse, and in everything that we've read to date, like there'll be a chunk where people start rhyming and it has some meaning or something. But this, like, it feels like, obviously it feels like a dreamscape throughout, but also like he's just going to do it soup to nuts. Like the whole thing is going to be rhyming and fun, and that helps. Like. Nothing forgives the quote Indian boy, but it's all in the spirit of like it's just as stupid as a Norse god swinging a hammer in Midtown Manhattan to help out Spider-Man. It's just like, listen, he's next to Spider-Man. Stop asking me why this doesn't track with Norse mythology. He's next to the Fantastic car just flew by behind him. Just like this is different stuff.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. It is what it is. Like. Just by calling it a Midsummer Night's Dream, it sets up this idea that anything could happen. Abraham Lincoln could walk in, you know, like it really is. It really is that, and like that rhyming thing. It's funny because I think last time we talked about how some of the rhymes don't work, and this scene, I think in particular, really highlights a lot of those times because he rhymes a lot of some of the couplets end with an ly ending, and then there's a word that has a long I sound at the end of them that back then made sense. Like, you know, if something, you know, if I did something indubitably, and then it ends with like, and the end is nigh, you know, back then the ly word indubitably would end differently and then would actually rhyme. And what's funny about this one, it's so much more noticeable to us now because this whole thing rhymes, you know. Yeah. Like so much of it rhymes that those speech discrepancies are just highlighted a million times, you know. Yeah,
they're like traps, in that like either seems forced or you have to find some way to talk around it. That said, in this act at least, nothing jumped out to me that it was challenging as whatever the last one was. I feel like it was like wound and wound or something. I can't remember. Yeah. But it was.
Well, you know, that's one of the discrepancies between the version I did in high school and there's something. The line is something like it carries love's wound or something. You know, when Oberon's talking about the fluid in the flower. And for some reason, the version I did had something like love's power. And like as I was reading, I was like, why would you change? Of all the words, like very little was changed, but why was that one word changed? It didn't make any sense to me. Like, would the audience not understand what a wound is?
I don't know. So, you know, the footnotes in my version make no sense throughout. Throughout, it's saying like, Puck will say like, and then I dropped my shoe, and the footnote will be like, a shoe is a leather thing worn over a foot to protect the foot while walking. And I'm just like, what the fuck?
You're kidding?
What? No, this thing is filled with footnotes, and it's just, they're all useless. I'm just like, oh, these must be some deep references, and it's like, nope. It's like
a disc that you hit into a net.
Shakespeare loved hockey.
He loved ice hockey and went to Canada often. Who made these addendums? These are weird.
By no means the dominant theory, but one of many theories is that Shakespeare is a time-traveling NHL enthusiast.
He was a Maple Leafs fan. But yeah, like I again like that whole just the again everything adds to the dreamlike quality. So like I don't I almost like forgive any little problem.
Yep.
throughout the throughout this thing, because it really is it's like the old the comic cliche of ending like oh, what a horrible nightmare, like waking up from a dream, like everything that you just saw was a dream. Just like by calling it a dream, you can kind of get away with anything, and that's kind of what's beautiful about it. He really does,
Yeah, I completely agree. So we start out with the fairy and Puck, and the fairy is kind of just like, I feel like both the fairy and the Puck are just on stage to do exposition. They're just like, oh, we're in the wood, and I work for this guy. He's grumpy because he doesn't like your boss. And then after they get that exposition out, and she's like, oh, and you're Puck. This is what you do. You're a rascal, aren't you? And he's like, I am a rascal. Here come those two people right now. And it's good, but it's also just like 80 lines of just straight up like exposition, like, I'm me, you're you, there's two people, there they walk on stage, and boom.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that like again, like in my high school brain, I didn't really pay attention to a lot of the details. So like when I was reading it, I was thinking, again, I didn't really pick up like on the homoeroticism part of like the Indian boy. So like I was like, okay, so Oberon is pissed that Titania has his boy toy, and it's not like jealous as in, well, the kid is with his wife. It's jealous like that wife took that boy from me.
The only thing
there's like a lot of like Nambla vibes coming off of Oberon.
The only thing that occurred to me is like Oberon seems like a schmuck with not Tatiana, Titania.
Or Titania.
Titania. Titanium power.
The hottest woman in the world.
Titania. And maybe he's just jealous of anything she loves. So, like, if she had a puppy, he'd be like, fucking puppy, kill that puppy. Puck, go cut that puppy's head off. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's totally like that. But what's funny about that, you said the two fairies, Puck and the other fairy. The other fairy, by the way, is like the U.S. Postal Service. Like the whole beginning is like, I go through hill and dale, and I have snow and sleet. But like then later, what I love about it is that Puck just went into the whole backstory of Titania and Oberon. It's like, well, Oberon's really wants that kid. And like it goes on for like a solid monologue. And then right after that, the other fairy's like, hey, you're Puck, right? Like it's almost like he's changing the subject.
Yeah.
Like this is super awkward.
And you're great. Yeah, no, you better run up to him going, cool. And you're this really cool guy, right? You're this guy who... And it's funny, he's just like, oh, I am. I get old ladies drunk. I pull stools out from under old ladies. It's just like, he's like, I do crazy stuff. I do stuff you've never heard of. And it's just making old women miserable. Like, you think he's going to list off, I make young men jump 10 feet in the air, and I make old men, blah, blah, blah. But it's just like, I make old ladies fall down. I make them drunk.
There's a lot of that too, because like the other fairy in the beginning says something like about doing the ladies' orbs, and like the very very first speech, he's like, I'm doing this and doing this. I'm doing the ladies' orbs, like putting dew on them, and I'm like, wait a second.
Well,
like hold up.
I feel like throughout this one, I felt this way about that. I felt this way about Cupid's shaft. And also, I think Puck talks about how bootless I make the breathless housewives churn the butter. And I feel like they're not all quite there. Like, they could all be something I don't understand, but, like, they're not... The shaft could just be the shaft, and like but they could all be delivered just fine, or they could be delivered while air thrusting. But, like, they never quite sink the like lascivious double entendre, but like they're always like 2/3 of the way, and I'm like, I don't quite get the metaphor. Like all the words like, I'm a child, so if you say shaft, I'm halfway there. But that's all as far as I got there for each of them. It's just like I think you're being horny, but I can't quite tell if you're just bad at talking. Like,
yeah, I think Shakespeare is maybe the first person who mastered. It's like a Pixar or Disney movie where they throw in a few jokes for the adults. You know, where it's like that joke is above the kids' heads, but we get it. You know, like I can't think of a great example. But like
Sitting in a Pixar film, he said Shaft.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's like a like in Boss Baby. That's right. Boss Baby. Like
Everything's like Boss Baby with you. Can we get some other cultural references? God damn it.
It always comes back to that. But there's a...
It's a very deep film, okay? Listen, have you watched it 5 times?
It really is. I mean, Alec Baldwin wouldn't just put his name on anything.
Listen, I can only recommend that you also get a child and watch Boss Baby 7 days a week. You'll start to understand.
Certainly, don't watch it by yourself. But there's one line in it where the parents in Boss Baby sing they sing a Beatles song to the kid every night. That's his special song, and the kid says something to the Boss Baby like, my parents sing that song to me. It's my song. It's their song to me. And the baby says, Alec Baldwin says something like, "Your parents are Lennon and McCarthy," Lennon and
McCartney. Yeah,
and it's such a like throwaway line that no kid is getting that joke.
Yeah,
you know. But that's for the adults. That's like a one for the grown-ups. And like that, I think Shakespeare does that a lot in this, where there's a lot of like shaft is another word for a dick, right? A fiery shaft. Everybody gets that, you know. Like and like the putting dew on ladies' orbs. Like, come on, like it's
come on,
it's like come on, like it's got to be that. It's got to be that, you know. So like
say no more. Say no more.
Yeah, nudge, nudge. So like he definitely like throws it like and yeah, as you say, like there are times when you know these people should be like mugging to the camera the whole time. You know, hey, Cupid shaft. You know, bum, 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 bum. But yeah, you can also play it totally straight too and do it in front of a kindergarten room. You know, it's pretty genius actually.
So along those lines, there's this line where like Hippolyta not Hippolyta, where Titania got it right. Wait, not Titania. Titania. I'm gonna get this
where
wrong.
Titty Monster says, and I quote,
Titty. Titania is arguing with Oberon, and they're going back and forth, and they're like, well, you love Theseus, well, you love Hippolyta. And Oberon's comeback is just like, well, you love Theseus. You helped him seduce. And he just lists various women that Theseus has slept with, like, in order. And, like, again, within the realm of, like, Greek myths, when this sounds like a great story about someone overcoming all these different things, and maybe, in each chapter having a woman he meets and maybe sleeps with, it seems like one thing. But when you just list them off like a notches in a bedpost or something, it's just really weird to be like, hey, you were with Theseus when you banged this one and then this one, and then he just at the end he just lists off 3 women. He's just like Judy, Pam, Lucinda. Okay, so don't be talking to me about the Indian boy.
Wait a second, he nailed Judy.
But it also, much like with the way they're arguing about the Indian boy, they're both going back and forth and just like, well, you clearly love Theseus. You help him get laid. And it's like, well, you clearly love Hippolyta. I can't remember if it's her sleeping with something or something, but it's not anything actually sexual that they're doing with it. It's just like they like spending time with them or like vouching for them or sponsoring them. It's weird.
Titania says like, Oberon, you pretended to be a shepherd and then you sang some songs.
Yeah. Exactly. And you're like, usually when you pretend to be a shepherd around a beautiful woman in Greece, we know what happens. But it's just like, no, you sang some songs.
Yeah. And it's funny because, well, you mentioned Greek mythology. And what I love about the Oberon-Titania relationship is that it's totally Greek god relationship where they are completely not faithful to one another. They are, basically godlike swingers, and because they're fighting, there's strife on Earth.
Yeah, well, there's actually climate change. Like she just has like 40 lines of just like listing relatively subtle things that are happening, but just like make everything pointless. And it's interesting that it's not volcanoes erupting. It's just like, oh, people, everything's so drab. They wish winter would come back. Like no one knows what's going on. It's just,
and it's like, it's almost, I highlighted a few lines because it's almost like Titania is predicting global warming, because she says at one point, and through this distemperature we see the seasons alter, hoary-headed frosts fall in the fresh lap of the crimson rose, and on the Heim's thin and icy crown an odorous chaplet of sweet summer buds is, as in mockery, set. The spring, the summer, the children autumn, angry winter change their wonted liveries, and the mazed world by their increase now knows not which is which. It's like, because she stole the Indian boy, now the fucking seasons are gone.
Right.
Nobody knows, the farmers, it's been raining so much, the farmers can't pull anything out of the ground. It's Greek mythology stuff. The gods are fighting, and because they're fighting, the humans are suffering. You know, but it's subtler than that, though. It's weird. Like it's well done in that. I don't think in Greek mythology you have gods bickering at one another.
well,
You know,
I think you could. So it's weird that, again, if there were thunderclaps and lava shooting out of the sky or the earth or whatever else, then like that's the, like, Theseus would need to be talking about that at the beginning. But it seems like they've just like caused this slow malaise over everything. But it's hard to pin down, because it's this relatively subtle thing that they've done to the weather, and again, you can't understand what the fuck they're arguing about. They're arguing about this Orientalist fantasy they both have with this little boy. It's just odd.
and that's the thing, is that, and this is another reason why I don't know why I was so blind to what a big creep Oberon was, but like Titania's reasoning is actually pretty sweet. It's like, hey, this Indian boy's mother used to hang out with me, and she was my maid, and she did all kinds of stuff, and because she died during childbirth, so I'm going to take care of this kid. And it's like, that's like a noble thing.
Yeah,
and Oberon's like, yeah, but I want him to go hunting with me.
Yeah, I want him to run through the forest like an animal.
Yeah, it's like Oberon's like a total asshole about the whole thing. It's like, yeah, that's a sweet story, but really.
But can you imagine if I let this kid just run? And that's all he says, just I want him to run through the forest. And just like, he can run through the forest, asshole. Like, just...
I just want to show him a few Cupid shafts.
So as they're arguing, kind of like winds down, Oberon does I think I just find really funny, but also great as stage direction, in that he just announces, "I'm invisible." It goes nowhere, but it's just like, I don't know. I want to try that in real life, and just like when I'm in a bad situation, just be like, "I'm invisible."
Which actually makes me frown, because I did. I think in high school I had to go behind a tree or something. But like it makes more sense that I'm just magic. Like Oberon is just magic and just can disappear. But I didn't.
Oh, it's just as fun to say I am invisible, and then be like, hide behind a tree, and be like, well, anyone can do that. Okay, you're not invisible. You're just, anything that's behind another thing is not visible. But that's not what we mean when we say invisible, Mr. Oberon. Okay, you're a great and powerful god, but
that's Mr. Oberon to you.
So
Oberon for this performance will be played by Paul Lynn. Charlotte.
So he's completely invisible, and we get Helena, the self-loathing stalker, just coming in full bore.
Such a good character. She's so intense, like,
but
the whole time.
I also love the way Dimitri skips it right back to her. Everything she says, he's just like, I don't want you here. I'm going to leave you to die. Just if you are driving me insane, I don't respect you. You're awful to me. You have value, but you are awful to me, and I will let you die. She's just like, I'll be your dog.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that I actually wrote down, it's like, you got to give it to Demetrius. He tells her straight to her face, like, look, This is not happening.
And
I don't like you.
and it's
You make me sick.
but
Go away.
But it's one thing to say that's how you honestly feel about someone. It's actually moral to say, like, you're a good woman. You could go and find someone. You have merit, just not to me.
Yeah,
And she's
it's
just like,
me. I don't like you.
she's just like, the more you say that, the more I like you.
Yeah,
He's just like,
it's so
God.
it's such a frustrating thing to watch. Like but it's beautiful because he like, and that's the thing. You mentioned like I'm going to be your dog. Like, was there a lot of dog beating back then? because it's like treat me like your dog. You can beat me and blah, blah, blah. It's like,
You can do all the stuff you do to your dog.
like wait a second. What are the rules for dogs in Elizabethan England? Like everybody's beating the shit out of their dogs because she's on board with it. Like she's like, yeah, treat me like a dog.
He's like,
The more you beat me, the more I'll come back.
what does he say? He says, he's like, if you've got to get away from me, I swear to God, if you keep following me in the woods, I will do you mischief. And she's like, yeah, do me mischief in the wood, do me mischief in the temple, in the town, in the field. He's just like, oh, God. You know what she is? She's like the chicken lady from Kids in the Hall. She's just like, I need a man. That's fine. In the field, in the temple, anywhere. Chicken lady's down.
It's a perfect analogy.
It works really well since he's so decent. Like, and she's just like, that's fine. I'm into it. He's like, no, nothing I said was sexual. You're terrible. I'll do terrible things. God, no, you fucking.
Oh, you like it dark? No. I'm saying I will kill you and make it dark in your face.
That'd be great. That'd be great to be killed by you. Well, it wouldn't be great for me. So, why don't
I
you
would
take
probably go to jail. Yeah, no, it's such a great exchange. Again, that's why I love Helena, because she is like, you know, when you read the Aristotelian edicts on character in plays, like, you know, the character has to want something, and
she does.
It's always clear 100% what Helena wants, and it's every fiber of her being is bent on one thing, and that's what I think Shakespeare is one of the first playwrights who gets it, where it's like what's genuinely funny, and what's one of the genuinely funny things is when somebody who wants something not only doesn't get what they want, but they get the opposite thing, and then how do they deal with that? So like when Helena all of a sudden is being pursued by Lysander, it doesn't compute to her. All she wants is love, but she doesn't want that love. You know, it brings out every character flaw she has in her. You know, like if you want love so bad, why don't you just go with Lysander? He's now showing you that he's you know, but that's not Helena. She would never do that. Like she wants this other thing, and it's a perfect character. Like she's perfect. I love Helena so much.
And I think just her and Lysander are really well matched here too, because it's just I don't know, just the fact that he maintains his decency and says like, I'm going to abandon you and you will be mauled by wild animals. Like, we're in the woods. You shouldn't have come here in the first place. But I'm done. I'm leaving you. So he leaves, and then she leaves, and Oberon makes himself uninvisible, and he's like, fare thee well, nymph. Like, he's into whatever Helena's got going on. He's like, she gets it.
Yeah. She's fiery. I like
so
that.
I just heard these two, and I'm on her side. Like, that's a lady who deserves to get what she wants. So,
which is funny because, like, you know, like this is something I talk about. This is something I talk about in my classes. Well, it's something I talk about in my classes with characterization. You know, you can only tell a character by what they say, what they do, and what other characters say about them. And Helena refers to herself, like she says, like she says something like I'm as ugly as a bear at one point.
Yeah, it's so great. It's such a random thing.
Yeah. So it's like she says that about herself, and Demetrius doesn't like her at all. But Oberon sees something, you know, and like my question is always like, well, what did he see in that moment where he's like, farewell, nymph? It's like, she's got to be somewhat attractive, like because Oberon has already, we've already established Oberon is not exactly the least shallow guy in the room.
Yeah.
So like he clearly sees something. He's like, I'm going to fix this. Like the biggest asshole in the play is like, yeah, that's not right. Like this, like something. Helena must be at least mildly attractive, you know.
Or he just loves chaos, or he's just like,
he's
because
Joker.
essentially
He's a Joker guy.
I couldn't quite get this right, but it feels like he says like, make Demetrius love her more than she loves him. Which the subtext which I read was that so it will be repulsive to her. That like she will get so much love back that even she'll be like, okay, listen, you need to back off a bit. But again, like a lot of things, like I couldn't quite say that that's 100% what they were going for, but it felt like half the way he was going. But I also think you could argue that Oberon doesn't have that much of a plan, because what he tells Puck is like, you're going to see someone dressed like an Athenian, drug them. They're in the woods outside Athens. It's just like, it's like if he was in Central Park and said, you're going to see someone wearing a Yankee ball cap. And when you do,
they'll be wearing a
them.
white rose on their lapel.
All right. Anything else from scene 1?
Oh, all that other stuff is scene 2, I think.
Oh,
no.
Right.
Right.
We went back and forth.
Okay.
Pretty sure she calls herself a bear in scene 2, but
Is it a bear?
it is a
What did I
bear.
say?
I love that.
Is it a pig? What did I say?
You said bear. You said bear.
Oh, I did. Okay.
But that's actually a good segue, because in scene 2, Titania, not Titiana, not Titania.
Titiana. That's what we should call her. Titiana.
Titania. She does this weird thing where she's talking about what she's going to use to go to sleep, but she just talks about the disgusting animals in the forest and how they shouldn't come near. And it's just odd in that, like, the way I think of a fairy is like being utterly at peace with the forest, and like saying even the humble earthworm like goes to sleep at night. So now we all go to sleep. But instead she's like, all right, fairies, you keep those fucking earthworms away from me. You keep these fucking bats away. I want none of these gross animals near me. Now sing me a fucking song. Like, there's no part of her. What she basically does is like recreates an Elizabethan bedchamber in the forest. She does not like lay down and say, now that's Bambi style. All of our animals like fall asleep together. It's odd.
I think that's exactly it. I think it's like it's like a scene of, well, it's like Titania is glamping. You know, she's in the woods, but it's like she can't really. That's the funny part about Titania, is that she's a woodland god. Like, you know, these Oberon and Titania don't like live in a house. Like, they're woodland gods. Puck is a woodland god creature, so it's like the idea like Titania is like, you know, she's too good for this. You know? Which
done in a certain way is really funny, to just be like, I'm sick of these people. I'm sick of these fucking worms. I can't believe I have this job for life and there's fucking worms and bats around. Just get them away from me. I'm trying to go to sleep. Just sing me songs, you stupid women. Just gather around me and sing me songs so I have to hear the crickets.
And that's the thing, is like she just set up in the last scene that she's seems like a decent person for taking on this kid from a dead maid.
Yeah.
And then like in this one, she just seems like she seems the opposite. She seems, you know, seems like
that's why I think like maybe it just feels off to modern ears or eyes, because like she seems fundamentally decent. She doesn't seem like a jerk. But also,
when I hear the fairies that go into their song, I hear la 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 lullaby. All I could think of was shimmy shimmy cocoa puff.
I couldn't think of what I thought of, but I was like, that reminds me of something. I can't think what it is.
I was thinking la 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 lullaby. Listen to me now.
I had a biscuit. I wonder if you could do this whole thing to the cadence of shimmy shimmy cocoa pop. Fill up with a melody, sing a lullaby. Ooh, never harm. 10 times a week. I met it. I said
Maybe you can.
Maybe. So then Oberon creeps in and just in in like adorable scum speak, just says, like, you'll fall in love with whatever you see when you wake up. Wake when something vile is near. Just like, you nasty bastard.
That was from experience. When I did in high school, I said that line to the audience for ultimate effect.
It's great that he's not going to game it. He's just going to have fun again with chaos and just be like, let's see what happens. I hope it's an earthworm, but and maybe that's what works well, is that, like, since she's demonstrating her disgust with gross creatures, and he keeps saying again and again, you'll fuck any animal that walks in the room and this happens, like, that she would be disgusted with what happens next.
Yeah, and that I think, it goes back to what a dirtbag Oberon is, because I really think he's wishing for something gross.
Yeah,
he really wants to humiliate her. And he kind of gets his wish. I mean, Bottom. Not to spoil anything for anybody who's never read Midsummer Act II, but
for some reason listening to a 5-part podcast about it.
I gotta find more out. Maybe you're in middle school and about to write an essay on this. Please do not go by this.
What's the slowest way I could figure out the plot of Act II?
Yeah, that's like a 5-hour investment. You can just read the play in half the time.
Beats fucking reading, man.
But yeah, like the idea of he Bottom's transformation into an ass, which is what's going to happen, folks. Ass meaning donkey.
It's coming.
It's coming. Like I that's what he wants. He wants to make his wife look silly. Just continuing that idea that he's a real.
Yeah, he just wants to sit back and watch what happens.
He loves it.
So he says that, and then we get Lysander and Hermia walking on screen, and in a structure that I like, but that I also think is kind of brutal. Like, everyone for the next 100 lines just like gives Hermia shit for not wanting to sleep right next to Lysander, for not wanting to spoon with Lysander. And I think first of all, he sets it up very well. Again, just to my ear, Lysander says, "We can lie together because we are two bosoms, but one truth." And I feel like that might be exactly the point where, like, a rational person would be like, listen, I'm not saying I don't love you, but, like, pump your brakes. Two bosoms, one truth. We're in a forest. If I'm going to give it up to you, it's not going to be the night you say that. So let's get apart a bit. So he keeps arguing to sleep closer. She's like, no, I'm okay. You sleep over there. And then Puck fucking walks on screen and is just like, oh, look at this poor woman. Obviously, she can't sleep close to this guy because he hates her. And just like everyone just keeps walking by and being like, wow, just how sad that two people would sleep 6 feet apart. There must just be something horribly wrong with this man or this woman.
In the woods. Yeah.
She just makes a rational choice, and every man is just like, ooh. Either I pity you, or what the fuck is your problem that you think I, spooning with you in the night in the woods, would try and cop a feel? What? Who am I?
This guy must beat dogs. She doesn't sleep next to him.
Some kind of fucking spaniel? You think I'd fuck?
This guy beats the shit out of spaniels. This guy.
What? Like I try and feel her up like I would my spaniel?
This guy was doing her orbs. He had his fiery shaft out. This is disgusting.
What if in this production, Puck just stands behind everyone going, "Oh,
oh,
Cupid's shaft."
I don't know why Andrew Disclay has come up so much in the podcast.
Just
I can't think of anything more distant.
Oh,
Shakespearean verse than Andrew Dice Clay.
two orbs.
Hickory dickory
dock.
I got a sonnet.
I was doing your orbs. Hickory dickory dorbs.
Titania came up and she was like,
oh, something vile. All right. Just like,
wake when something vile is near.
Actually, it should be Oberon throughout, because he could just be like, "Oh, fair nymph." That's how I like it. That's
what I like.
Puck, here's what you do, okay? You put so much shit in this guy's eyes. He loves her more than she loves him, all right?
That's right. Put it in her eyes. Goosh, goosh, goosh.
I do.
Okay. I'm over here now. That's when he becomes invisible. That's what it is. He goes, "I'm over here now."
Someone walks in, looks right at him, and he's just like,
I'm not here. I'm over there now.
I'm invisible.
You can't see me. Why does that fit so well?
Just picture Dice, just someone looking right at Dice, and he's just being like, "I'm invisible." It's all right. He's just smoking loudly. What? I'm invisible.
I'm invisible, bitch.
Oh, fair maiden. Just putting his arm around Puck. Puck, I want you to run, okay? You go. I want you to. I saw this guy Cupid shooting at the fucking sun. Saw his shaft go right into a flower that's fucking violet. Okay, shaft. You go get that fucking Cupid shaft and you put it in his eye. You go.
I know a place, Puck, where the wild thyme grows. It's behind the movie theater. I'll see you there.
White dress. All right, so Helena walks on screen, and she compares herself to a bear, and again, maybe I should just like adopt this as like my favorite thing, but it's like the guy on the other blade calling his dog Crab. Something about saying I'm as ugly as a bear. It just the fact that it doesn't quite land. Like a bear is a majestic animal, and so to be like I am as ugly as a lion. It's just like what? It's just bizarre. And I'd like it because it just makes her out to be crazy. And I like that. So Helena walks on screen. Lysander has been drugged to fall in love with whoever he sees first. She walks up to him, wakes him up, and they rhyme together. And I feel like this makes the joke land better. So she says, "Lysander, if you live, good sir, awake." And there's a stage note that says he starts up and says, "And run through fire I will for thy sweet sake." And so it just, I can see the funniness. Like they've been rhyming to themselves, and she's just like says something, and he's just like right on beat and just like horny as hell for her.
They that's something that they pound to death in Shakespeare school. Like in the various classes I've had over the years is like that idea of like finishing someone else's either like if it's like in iambic pentameter when it's like half a line and then somebody finishes the other half, or somebody does a rhyme and then finishes that rhyme.
Yeah.
That clue from Shakespeare saying like, like Shakespeare giving you a gift of like this is a poignant moment, you know, and like it's genius. It really is. It's like this is the moment where the magic happens. He's finishing the rhyme for Helena, and it becomes this is where you can tell he's enchanted, and it's a really awesome moment. It's also what I love about it is that, and this never occurred to me before, but like Oberon's instructions were like, this juice will make anybody fall in love with whatever they see, but it doesn't say anything about like instilling absolute hatred for the thing that they loved before, because like Lysander falls in love with Helena, but like he says some awful shit to Hermia all like out of nowhere. He's just like you make me sick.
Yeah.
It's like whoa.
Also, and it's funnier to think of her sleeping right there. She's just like, fuck that bag of trash. It also
like nobody said the potion would make them like just just fucking hate the other person.
It needn't make you hate someone that you loved before you fell asleep. It also needn't make you murder. Where he's like, and also, where's that guy who, and all that guy has done is not love her, but he's like, I'll fucking kill Demetrius. And it's like, well, wait, so because we made her unhappy? He doesn't say why. He's just like, well, I'm gonna go murder him. Just like, no, that wasn't part of the potion. That's or you just have a fucked up idea of love in this state. But no, it was not announced as any part of it that you would start murdering or berating everyone. Like that'd be great if the potion is you'll fall in love with whoever you first see, and everyone else will be fucking dog shit, fit for murder.
Yeah, and you will destroy everything else. But I love that idea of a potion that the side effects are crazy like that. You know, like
side effects include murdering your friend,
homicide,
bitching at your sleeping fiance, just screaming epithets at your sleeping fiance in the woods.
Yeah, he like it's I love that aspect of it, this potion, because that's where the comedy comes in, right? Because that's what differentiates it from like a romance, you know, where it's just like, two crazy lovers, like they all get mixed up. Like Shakespeare is darker than we think, you know, like that so far his comedies have included really dark shit. And this is kind of one of those moments where it's not just that Lysander falls in love with Helena. It's Lysander falls in love with Helena, but then fucking hates Hermia and was going to kill Demetrius. Like it goes crazy over the top, you know, with like not, you know, nothing that was intended ever stays as pure as it was, you know. And there's something really cool about that. You know, he's ahead of his time in that respect.
Is there anything, I know you said that you loved the way that Helena just can't accept his love. Is there anything that jumped out to you that you wanted to focus on?
No, just I love Helena is great in that not only can she not accept Lysander's love, she thinks he's making fun of her.
Yeah. And
that's like the key to Helena. Like every great Helena I've seen is always like, what are you fucking saying to me? And he's like, well, I love you. And like, okay, you know, you don't have to like pretend.
Let's not fuckface.
Like, yeah, it's like, it's bad enough Demetrius doesn't love me, but you don't have to like do this. Like, this is really insulting. And like the more serious that insult gets, because she gets insulted. That's the beauty of it. She gets insulted. Like, how fucking dare you?
Well, you know what's interesting is that so Lysander has like insane love potion love right now, and that's how Helena is like just out of the gate. Like that's just her normal state. She hasn't been drugged, but like that's how she is, where she's just like, I'm your fucking dog, kill me, whatever. And it's just like, wait,
she's got a drug brain. Yeah,
that's not love. I don't know what you got for me, dear, but that's not love.
That's a really good example. I never thought of it that way. That she's getting her just desserts, where this is what it's like for her.
Yeah,
is Lysander's like undying. Like you cannot deter me from this love.
And don't worry, baby, I will fucking kill that guy. She's like, wait, no, I didn't. Why would I want why would I want that? B, no. C, there's your wife. Fuck her. She's shit. Why is she? No, she's a pretty lady. No, she's next to you. She's a fucking turd in a bag. You're just like, what? Okay, I'm gonna leave. And then poor Hermia. There's something about when something has happened to a person, and then it's a trope, but I always find kind of effective where something's happened to them, and then they wake up and they've had a dream that something metaphorical's happened to them. And they don't know what's happened yet, and it's just so nicely staged. She's like, "Oh, I thought there was a serpent eating my heart, and so I called out for you." It's just like, it just sets up nicely. Again, I don't know what happens next for her, but it's like, "Oh, I feel bad for you. You did nothing wrong, except like you had enough self-respect to not spoon with Lysander in the woods, and now like you're probably going to think everything rolled out of that." So I don't know. I like this
from
I
never thought of that either. Like she's paying for her morality.
Yeah,
she's paying for being a decent person. You know, for doing the right thing. Like we shouldn't sleep next to each other before marriage.
Yeah, she's at least at this point like the only like Demetrius like 8 out of 10 decent. He's a bit too aggressive going after Hermia, but and like Lysander probably 9 out of 10. He's a good guy, but like a little horny in the woods. But like Hermia is like 10 out of 10, like good person, and she's probably going to be the most confused, at least going into Act 3. So
yeah, but like what I like about it, I think this might be the first play that we've read that like. And again, it's probably I don't know how much of it is just the influence of public education and like the its importance in like the general culture, but I feel like this is the first comedy that we've read where you actually give a shit about the characters. Like you really like you want Helena to get something out of it. You want Hermia to be you want Hermia and Lysander to get together because it's like wrong, like in your heart you feel it's wrong. So like for the first time I feel like we actually care, about these characters. It's not just like a cruel like social experiment like Taming of the Shrew or some like slapstick shit like Comedy of Errors. It's definitely like we care, like you care about these people. At least that's from my like obviously biased point of view.
No, I agree. They're good, likable people. Though some of them are drugged.
That's how I saw Kids, the movie Kids. They're good, likable people. That's not true. They're despicable people, and a lot of them are drugged.
It's so weird to see that and be like 17 and be like, this is a fucked up movie about 15-year-olds, man. This is weird. I don't know. It was just like
that was the first movie I watched when I got to NYU. That was the first movie that my friends and I went to go see, and I remember thinking, like, I've made a horrible mistake.
This is New York City.
Those guys beat the shit out of that other guy in Washington Square Park with skateboards. I live there now.
Our roving skateboard gang's gonna get me.
Am I going to be the next victim?
Should I be afraid of the kids?
Am I going to be high at a party and somebody's going to violate me?
Spoiler alert. Yes.
Yes. Spoiler alert. It happened.
All right. Anything else on Act 2?
No, I think, again, it gives so much. Like, it's so many. I think it's the first time where Shakespeare's got all those moving parts and they're clicking together in a way that like the machine is starting to get perfect. Like it really is like the different levels, it's like when you look at the histories and, they've got little like comic vignettes or, you look at other comedies where like the folding in of the subplots where it's like, Bottom and the Tinkerers and all those guys, like the way those are folded into the main plot, I don't think it gets better than this, for Shakespeare. I think I'm thinking like Much Ado About Nothing, which I've also performed. Like plays like
for which I played Othello,
which I was Iago. And, plays like that where the like you've got like the main comedy and then like the subplots, and the subplots always seem kind of tacked on. And, they're loosely associated. I feel like in Midsummer's it's really well. Everything is well sculpted together.
The structure,
the main,
the structure just seems really confident to just spend the first act in Athens and then to just be like, and now it's a bunch of fairies and they're going to have an argument, and just like to have every line and every character matter 2 acts in, but also have just like take your time getting to them because you didn't need to go any faster, and to like. Again, to call it a Midsummer's Night's Dream, but not get to any of the dream shit in Act 1 is interesting.
Yeah.
That, and I'm also glad that you said how much you like Helena, because I think like I just read it more closely going into this and gave like the performance in my head more credit. It's
I don't know what it is about that character, but I think it's like it's one of those. She's like the unsung hero of this play.
She's like a lovable need machine. It's like it's great that like she's. Well, it's interesting that like you don't feel the way about Lysander that you do feel about her. Like there's just something just like she's 51% good. She's like 49% need machine, but like.
I think that's what it is. I think now I understand why I like her so much, because I think for me, she's the funniest part of the play, and she's a female character. And I think that's rare, especially this time period.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody's got, like, Bottom is very funny in this.
Yeah.
Yes. But I feel like Helena is really like one of the first female characters who is genuine. Like, you have to get your best, and I said this before in the first one, you have to get your best comedic actress in that character, because she's not. Hermia and Lysander are your romantic leads. Like, those are your normal. You get your normal young people. Demetrius, you can kind of get away with, just like some dick. Like somebody who like looks like a dick but can play somewhat sincere. But Helena has to be like a comic genius. Like, she's got a big role in terms of her arc is the most interesting, I think. And that's why I think this play in particular, I think, and that character I've always loved. She's just she's like, for the first time, it's a comic female character who, she's not a whore.
she's not called a whore.
Well, she's not she's not like she's not a stereotype, and she's like that needy woman, needy girlfriend character. But the way the tables are turned on her and how she reacts to that, I think, is something really interesting. Like, you don't see that. I just think it's really well done.
And it's also, so the tables are turned on her, but since it's in this dreamscape, it's like relatively low stakes, and so like it's, I don't know, it seems to like fit. It almost again goes back to structure, and just that like it's the character is put in a good place to like succeed and like spread their. I don't know, like just like lean into the role and not have it get into bad or problematic or just like trite places. Like it's just well positioned. I don't know, at least 2 acts in, because again, I don't know what the hell's happening. I know there's an ass coming at some point, but that's all I really know. I know that
there's an ass, baby.
I know that, and I know the part from the end of Dead Poets Society, but that's it.
Oh yes, yeah. It's funny because I think, like, thinking back, I think that scene. Oh yeah, and then Dad comes in. Oh my God!
You're gonna be a doctor, you son of a bitch.
Got a lot of connotations there. Yeah, and there you are on stage, and one day you're gonna be a doctor in the show House, and be way too actory for the role.
And I'll be on that '70s show. We'll both be rich. But between this and that, I'll be in RoboCop. And that will be my crowning achievement.
One of my crowning achievements was allowing art to prosper during my reign. So what we're saying is we're at least partially responsible for RoboCop. You're welcome, culture. Dead or alive, you're coming with us. Fat and Greasy Citizens is presented by the players Chuck and Gabe. Theme song, A Robust Crew by Darren Curtis. Next week, the third act of A Midsummer Night's Dream. And for me, a big bummer I'm clean. I mean, what does that even mean? Bye.